Weekly unemployment claims continue to be higher than expected by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and the labor market keeps taking a hit as a result of coronavirus-related restrictions and shutdowns. Now, we're experiencing the second wave of coronavirus. Obviously, it didn't need to be as extreme as what we're experiencing right now, but since we don't have a great deal of leadership, especially on a federal level, some states are just completely ignoring the reality of this pandemic and this situation. And it's translating to people losing their jobs. So weekly jobless claims totaled 778,000 last week, higher than the 742,000 from a week ago. Obviously, the industries that are hit the hardest include the hospitality industry, because some restaurants have been forced to shut down. In Los Angeles County, for instance, outdoor dining was allowed until tonight. Starting tonight, outdoor dining will no longer be allowed, and restaurants can only remain open for takeout and delivery, which means more people are going to be experiencing some economic pain here. And the total receiving benefits actually rose from 20.45 million for the week that ended on November 7th, up 135,297 from the week before. That compares with just under 1.5 million a year ago, underscoring how much damage remains in the labor market. And across the country, Americans are finding themselves in extremely long lines for food banks, sometimes waiting as long as 5 hours. Watch.
Look at these cars lined up for miles in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And what's perhaps even more astonishing here is that some willingly waiting 3, 4, 5 hours, right, just to get this food donation to feed their families. And in many cases, this is not just about a holiday meal. This is about daily survival. CNN's Bryn Gingras has been at that distribution point all day. And Bryn, the need there, like we're seeing in so many places across the country, is sadly far exceeding the demand.
It's true, Erica. And when you see people come in their cars and they're literally crying as they receive those meals in the trunk of their car, it just shows you how desperate people are feeling and how important these causes are. I want to show you the line of cars. What you saw earlier, you just showed your viewers, that was from this morning's distribution here at the Meadowlands YMCA. Right now, as we zoom in, you see those cars lined up. Every single car is a family, multiple families in some cases, who are waiting to get these free meals. Further down, I can see a family right now who brought a soccer ball just to keep their kids occupied because they've been waiting here for 2-3 hours just to get those meals.
On the episode of the Daily podcast today, they spoke to people who are waiting in these food bank lines, and it's just, please listen. Like, I don't normally plug other people's shows unless I think it's worth it. And so please check out that episode because I think it's important to hear these people's voices and understand what they're going through, and share that episode. They talked to this one woman who's Muslim, and she talked about how grateful she is that she wears a headscarf because she doesn't have to deal with the humiliation of waiting in a food bank line. So there's the poverty and the stigma and unnecessary shame that comes along with that poverty. And there are people, in that line who were totally fine before the pandemic, living normal middle-class lifestyles, didn't think that they would find themselves in line for a food bank. And now they're waiting 5 hours just to get food on the table for themselves and their families. Yeah,
and like that woman, they feel shame for being in the line, but we should all feel shame for being in a country that allows that line to exist in the first place.
Yeah.
And to be a country at the same time that frequently will use the specter of lines to wait in food to warn people away from supporting socialist, scary socialist candidates. We can't have that sort of thing. That'll result in Soviet-style lines for bread. Those lines are here, like they're all over. That video, there's huge ones in Texas. There's a line actually on Overland, I drive by sometimes and see.
Yeah.
There's lines there. No, that's America. That's best capitalist economy in the world, right? Then why do we have these massive lines? Why should we be afraid of some alternate system, the worst outcome of which they can scare us away from is something that we're seeing every day?
And what doesn't get talked about enough is just how much this experience is going to impact these kids, There are certain memories from my childhood that I didn't realize were subconsciously messing with me. Like there was one anecdote, one story that was shared in that episode of The Daily today, where a mom had to explain to her children why they weren't able to eat the kinds of foods that they typically eat, like fruits and vegetables and things like that. And it reminded me of a conversation I had with my mom after my dad's welding job was shipped overseas, and I like that. I remember it vividly. So I think about all those kids who aren't able to go to school, aren't able to play with their friends. On top of that, have to wait in these insanely long lines for food banks. Their parents are stressed out. The federal government has completely abandoned them. But hey guys, don't worry. The Dow Jones did really well yesterday. Record numbers, 30,000.
Sacred
right?
number.
A sacred number, according to Donald Trump. This was the graph that we showed you guys yesterday, showing that spike, up 6% since election day 2020. And it's all based on speculation, of course. We all know that, but it just goes to show you how utterly disconnected Wall Street continues to be from the real life experiences of average Americans every day during this pandemic.